My name is Casimir Muroski, and I graduated from Seton Hall in 1979. I graduated from the School of Education and was a school teacher for 39 years. Here are some stories that I remember about Seton Hall, for better or worse. One day in the Student Center, one of the local campus organizations decided to put on a school version of the Gong Show. Some of you may remember the Gong Show from television. Chuck Barris was the host, and ordinary people would get up there and tell jokes. And if the celebrities didn't like the jokes, they would gong the person off the stage. Well, the students would go up there and tell jokes, and they had a panel of, I believe, 3 professors who would, if they didn't like the jokes, they would gong the person. Well, one young man got up there, and he began to tell jokes that weren't particularly funny, and I seem to think might have been a little bit off color. So one of the philosophy professors got up and gonged the kid off the stage. The young man was not happy, and he began to say things to the professor that weren't very nice. And one of the things I remember he said to the professor was, "I had you last semester, and you gave me a D, and I didn't deserve it." And the professor hollered back at him, "That's right, you didn't deserve a D, you deserved an F." That's a true story. Okay, another story I remember is we had a guest speaker here, a Professor Radu Florescu. He claimed to be a descendant of Count Dracula. As some of you may know, Count Dracula was a real person, not the vampire of the movies, but there was a Vlad the Impaler who lived in Transylvania back in the Middle Ages. And this man wrote a book about it, and he came to our school to lecture. Well, at some point, either toward the end of his lecture or in the middle, these students came into the room here in the Student Center, and they were carrying a coffin, and they carried the coffin into the room, and then a guy dressed up as Dracula got out of the coffin and began to talk, tell some little speak with a Transylvanian accent, and to say things like, I love Seton Hall, I love New York, because back in those days there was a play on Broadway with the actor Frank Langella, and Frank Langella he played Dracula, and on television there was a commercial where he would say, "I love New York," that kind of thing, in his Dracula accent. So they thought that would be an amusing thing to do for Professor Radu Florescu. One more memory, a little more serious. Back in 1975, the Catholic Church canonized Elizabeth Seton as a saint in the church, and I don't know all the details, but the university really didn't have any special plans for the occasion. I mean, here the foundress of our university, Elizabeth Ann Seton, was being honored by the Pope in Rome, and there didn't seem to be much notice of it on campus. So one of the priests, who I'll just say he had somewhat of a liberal reputation, they took some tables out of the cafeteria, and they decided they were going to have Mass in front of the Student Center. It was kind of not exactly in line with what you might call liturgical regulations, but he had this like impromptu Mass with some of the other, there were students surrounding him, and one of the English professors was there, and he gave a stirring speech about how Elizabeth Seton was a strong woman, and it was, like I said, it was kind of irregular, and I don't think he was supposed to do it that way. But I often wondered, my question was, why didn't the university have something formal and special planned that day? Why leave it to people on their own devices to celebrate it in their own way? So I just wondered about that. So wherever these people are today, may they rest in peace.